PFL number 6 from Wichita, Kansas. In the Intrust Bank Arena, we've got the semifinals for the Professional Fighters League in the lightweight division, in the bantamweight division, and in the women's flyweight divisions. We've got 6 playoff fights tonight, and of course a huge one which is going to determine the number 1 contender for the lightweight championship. Mansour Barnaoui versus Archie Colgan. Yes, Paul Hughes is getting skipped. I don't know, but regardless, 13 fights on this card from Wichita, Kansas this Friday night. And folks, before we get into the predictions, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly PFL predictions here on the channel. Earlier this week and yesterday, we posted our UFC Azerbaijan predictions. Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. in the main event over in Baku. And on the main channel, Greedo plays daily MLB and NBA best bets. Go subscribe over there if you haven't yet. Okay, on to the first of our 13 fights tonight. We kick things off in the welterweight division. Alan Dominguez takes on Nick Meck. I'm going with the King Black Cat and Meck to win the fight by decision. Both these fighters looking for their first PFL victory. Dominguez lost his last fight in the PFL in June of 2024 to Lorenz Larkin. Larkin knocked him out in the first round. And Nick Meck lost to Kevin Peace back in 2024 by decision. My thing with Dominguez is, yes, he beat Naib Lopez over in Lux. That's not a bad victory at all, right? Lopez, a former PFL name. That's a guy who went to the PFL and lost to Magomedov. I just think Nick Meck is slightly better. I know his loss to Kevin Peace wasn't all that impressive, but Peace in his own right is a 6-0 prospect that we have not seen since his victory in the PFL itself. And then Meck's other loss is a majority decision to JP St. Louis. All right, I mean, okay. But still, I think Meck is able to go out here and win this fight. For me, it's a clash of styles. I look at Dominguez, a guy that's been submitted multiple times in his professional career. Nick Meck with a number of submission victories. I think the big difference in this fight is going to be the grappling that Meck is able to do. Again, I think Dominguez is going to look to keep this fight standing. I know, again, he got knocked out by Lorenz Larkin in his last fight. That doesn't mean too much to me. Again, I think that was kind of just a levels fight, and Larkin was just better on the feet. I think, again, if Dominguez is able to keep this fight standing, I think he's going to have a really good pathway to victory, or a really easy pathway to victory. But I think what Meck's able to do in the grappling, I think he should be able to switch things up. Again, work on the feet, but obviously get the fight down to the ground, and just, we say it all the time, your grappling makes your striking better, and I think that's what Nick Meck is going to do in this fight. I'm going with Meck, the King Black Cat, to win this fight here, get his first PFL victory in the welterweight division. I'm going Meck by unanimous decision. We go on to our next fight, and this one's going to be contested in the women's flyweight division. Sarray Orozco takes on Alara Joanne. I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going with Alara Joanne. Both these fighters aren't very good. I'm just going to get that out the way. Orozco, 8-6 professionally. Fought her first PFL fight. It was a split decision loss to Sumiko Inaba. I get it. It was competitive. My thing with the Naba is, though, she just leaves a lot to be desired for me personally. I've kind of, she's a 34-year-old prospect at this point. She's going to fight Dakota Ditcheva in Africa in July. I don't know. Inaba's just kind of for me. We know Ditcheva is going to go in there and probably submit her in the first round. Let's just be honest. But for Orozco, right, that's her only fight in the PFL. We saw her fight in Ryzen and in Combate. Whenever she fights high-level opponents, she loses. Let me make sure. Somewhat decent competition, right? I'm talking Montserrat Canyejo she lost to. Kanako Maruda in Ryzen, she got Von Flewed by. Silvana Gomez Juarez beat her by unanimous decision, right? When she fights better fighters, she loses. And now for Alara Joanne, a 12-10 fighter who is 1-4 in her last 5 fights. But guys, here's the question I'm going to propose to you. Alara Joanne's losses are Bruna Ellen, Jenna Bishop, Tyler Santos, Liz Carmouche. Okay, Bishop, Santos, Carmouche, 3 fighters who are always in the PFL playoffs, right? Hell, Bishop and Carmouche we're going to talk about later in the video because they are in the playoffs this season. And Tyler Santos just fought for the championship last year. The question I'm going to ask you is, the one fighter that Joanne's beat in her last 5 is Shanna Young. Do you think Shanna Young's better than Sarray Orozco? Personally, I'm going to go, yeah. I actually think Shanna Young is slightly better. This is a fighter who we've seen win Invicta, former UFC fighter, albeit not that great of a UFC fighter. And then I want to date back to Joanne's victories back in 2022 over Alejandra Lara and Denise Kiaholtz. I mean, those are not bad victories. Who has Sarray Orozco beat? Exactly. I think Alara Joanne's actually going to go out here and pick up the victory. Again, don't bet on this fight. It's women's MMA. But here's the thing. Again, Alara Joanne's actually the younger fighter. She's had way more fights on a higher level. But Joanne's 31. Zarya Orozco's 34. So Orozco's no spring chicken. I'm going with Alara Joanne to win the fight by unanimous decision. I honestly might be split. Who knows? But I'm going a decision victory for Alara Joanne. I think it's kind of crazy that she's, not favored to win this fight, at least on Tapology. So I'm going Alara Joanne here by decision. I just don't think Orozco's that great, I'm going to be honest. And again, you have a fighter who's 8-6 fighting against a fighter who's 12-10. It's not that high level of a fight. Let's move on to our next one in the bantamweight division. We've got Mattos taking on Lazaro Dayron. I'm going with the undefeated Cuban here in Dayron to win the fight. This is a guy who, I believe he's Cuban, right? Yes, he's Cuban. He's 8-0-1. His one fight in the PFL was a majority draw to Danny Sabatello. Now, again, Dayron was a plus 540 dog in that fight. Takes Sabatello to the full 15 minutes. It's a majority draw. Sabatello has since signed with Rise and won his first fight over there. Now, again, the Italian gangster was never what we thought he was going to be. Let's just be honest. But I'm going to take a majority decision against a wrestler like Danny Sabatello if I'm Lazaro Dayron. That's not a bad outcome. A mixed bag in the regional scene, but he's won in promotions like Combate and LXF. You look at Mattos, this is a guy who just got Scottish twistered by Jake Hadley. Mattos now in a 2-fight losing streak, losing to Kasim Kasimov, and then Hadley prior after that. His wins in Bellator, CJ Hamilton and Richard Palencia. I mean, all right, not bad wins, I'm not going to lie, but I was impressed with Dayron going out there and being so competitive with Sabatello. That's a fight that I kind of just immediately chalked for Sabatello. That was a fight that I think PFL went into it saying, okay, we just need to get Sabatello back on the right track. He's been losing fights. If he can go out there and beat Dayron, then all right, immediately we can insert Sabatello back into the Grand Prix next year or the tournament next year and whatnot. But Dayron, again, shows decent defensive wrestling in that fight, does well in the striking game against Sabatello as well. I think that's going to be enough for him to beat Mattos. I'm not too impressed with Mattos, if I'm being honest with you. I saw Jake Hadley. If Hadley didn't get the submission, he was going to be on his way to win that fight back in April. So I saw Hadley win a fight against Mattos. Again, we are going to find out how good Dayron really is because I guess, again, right, we've gotten just a mixed bag out of what Danny Seb have done out of the Italian gangster recently. But I just don't think Mattos is that much better than him, if I'm being honest. This is a guy coming off back-to-back losses, has not won a fight since November of 2023. I would be surprised if we don't get just a pure striking fight for the most part. I think Dayron, again, is not a bad grappler, but I think we're going to get a striking match for the most part. I think Dayron's actually going to come out here on the right end of things. I'm not that impressed with Mattos, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think Dayron's the better fighter. So I'm going with the Cuban to pick up the biggest win of his career. Again, took Danny Sabatello to a draw. I think he actually finishes the job here. I'm going Lazaro Dayron to beat Mattos by unanimous decision. Next up, we go to the lightweight division. Dara Kelly taking on a guy that the PFL couldn't even get a picture for. It's Mike Hamel. Mike Hamel, 11-6 professionally, 7 fights actually in Bellator. So this is a guy who's been around for a while. He's fought some pretty big name opponents in the past. Immediately gets inserted to a split decision loss against Adam Borch in Bellator back in 2020. Then goes on to fight Usman Magomedov, loses, wins 4 fights in a row. Bryce Logan, Kilis Mota, Nick Brown, and Shamil Nikayev. And then lost his last fight to Tim Wild. I mean, those aren't bad fights, obviously, but whenever he fights decent guys, I'm talking Borch, I'm talking Magomedov, Tim Wild. Hell, he's got a loss in LFA back in 2018 to Jordan Winsky. When he fights kind of, higher level guys, he will lose. I remember at one point in time, he was booked against Max Roscoff in San Diego, I think that fight was in San Diego. Supposed to be a huge fight for both guys. Roscoff is in Long Beach, Fight ended up not happening because Roscoff had to pull out the last second. Anyways, though, Mike Hamel is tasked with taking the O away from Dara Kelly. Dara Kelly, undefeated, 7-0. I got to give the guy credit. I thought it was going to be a tough task for him to go out there and beat Dmitry Histrenko in his last fight in the final Bellator card over in London. I didn't know if he was going to be able to pick up that win. And Dara Kelly went out there and won a decision. I'm impressed. He was an underdog going into that fight. First fight of the night, I picked Dmitry to win. And Dara Kelly goes out there as a plus 135 dog and wins the fight. Dara Kelly now is undefeated at 7-0. I was worried and I was really questionable of the fact, all right, Dara Kelly, we know Bellator has done this a lot, especially with their Irish fighters. They love SBG Ireland. They love John Kavanagh because it always gets Connor to the fights and whatnot. But I'd question, the 27-year-old Dara Kelly, he never really had a big fight. He was always kind of protected by the Bellator brass. PFL said, enough of that. We're going to immediately book him against a really good fighter. And Kelly goes out there and wins a decision. Hell, the fight prior to Ostrenko, I mean, was against a guy who was a 7-1 fighter, but a guy that Dara Kelly was a minus 1,200 favorite against, right? So Dara Kelly has always been expected to win fights up until his last one, where he goes out there and picks up a decision win. I'm not going to tell you Mike Hamel is on the level of the, 2-4s and 2-2 and 3-1 guys that Dara Kelly had beaten in the past in Bellator, but it's not that tough of a challenge for him, if I'm being honest with you. Mike Hamel's 32. He's lost, 6 fights. And whenever he steps up and fights a half-decent named guy in Bellator, he just loses. Dara Kelly should have a significant advantage on the ground. Mike Hamel is primarily just a striker. This is a guy who doesn't grapple all that much and isn't very good at grappling. So if Dara Kelly is able to get this fight to hit the mat, he's going to have a significant advantage to win. And I think Dara Kelly is going to be able to control this fight on the ground. I'm going with Kelly to win this fight by unanimous decision. And don't look now, right? Dara Kelly, 27 years old, a legitimate prospect for the PFL. If he's able to go out there, beat Mike Hamel, he goes to 8-0. It's no longer, oh, okay, Dara Kelly's on the card, he gets some no-name. No, this is kind of a big deal now that Dara Kelly's able to start stacking wins against some named guys. I know Mike Hamel's 11-6, but I think it's a really good win for Dara Kelly to go out there and get. I'm going Dara Kelly to beat Mike Hamel. I think he's able to get it done by unanimous decision. We move on to our next one. Nope, not that one yet. We go to the lightweight division. Antonio Caruso, or he's going by Tony Caruso, versus Vinicius Cenci. Two guys looking for that first PFL victory. Caruso 0-1 with a loss in the Challenger Series to Anthony Romero back in 2023. Vinicius Cenci, a King's MMA guy who lost in the first round of the tournament earlier this year to Brent Primus by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Cenci's been he's been touted as a really good jiu-jitsu guy, but here's the thing. He's been subbed 3 times in his career. He got subbed on the Contender Series by Sam Patterson. Brent Primus submitted him, and he got submitted in his first ever professional fight back in 2016. Now, the thing with Vinicius Cenci is he has multiple fights in his past that have been flagged by Tapology as bout rigging or, record ineligible fights. So Tapology's record for Cenci is 8-3. I guess PFL has him as 8-3 as well, but he's got multiple fights, at least 2 of them, that have been flagged by Tapology for saying, okay, this is obvious bout fixing. So my thing with Cenci is, right, again, this is a good grappler. At least he's billed as one, and he'll beat up on guys who aren't the best. But guys, look at his last fight prior to getting the shot in the Contender Series. It's a win over 0-0 Hugo Gonzalez, who doesn't have a Tapology page. The fight has been flagged by Tapology. It's Gladiator Challenge, who's been known for kind of just, bout fixing fights. I don't know how Cenci's gotten these shots. He's beaten no names in the regional scene. He got his shot against Sam Patterson. He loses, obviously. Gets a shot on UAE Warriors. Wins a split decision over a Cameroonian fighter. A Guinea-Bissau fighter in Yabana Chakala. Excuse me. But he wins a close split decision. Then goes to the PFL, and Brent Primus does what we thought Brent Primus was going to do it with him and submits him. Tony Caruso, I'm not telling you this guy is going to walk through everyone in the PFL, but this is a guy who's got good offensive wrestling. He can take you down, and he will look for a submission. He is 34 years old, fighting out of Australia, but I think he goes out there and subs Cenci. The submission's tough. I'm going to go decision. I could easily see a submission too, though, right? Because Cenci, we've seen him on his back in a lot of fights already, at least when he's been, tasked with fighting on the Contender, fighting in the PFL. Once he fights these higher level guys, they do have their way on the ground. I don't think anything's different here at Tony Caruso. I believe he's going to have his way on the ground with Cenci as well. Again, the question for me is decision or submission. I will go conservative here. I'm going to go Tony Caruso by decision. I think he's able just to dominate the fight on the ground. Again, Cenci has not shown me anything yet to prove that he's actually a PFL caliber fighter. So I'm going to go with the Australian here and Tony Caruso to win this one by unanimous decision. Next up, we go to a big one in the bantamweight division. Magomedov takes on Sarvajan Khamidov. Ooh, this is a good fight. This is a really good one. Magomedov, 20-4 professionally, has had kind of a rough last 5 fights, let's just be honest, dating back to August of 2021, where he lost to Raufean Stotts. It was a fight that Magomedov was a minus 550 favorite in. He was 18-1 at the time, with the only loss in his career being to Piotr Jan. He loses to Ralphienstadt, comes back, beats Enrique Barzola in the first round of the Grand Prix, but then loses to Patchy Mix in the second round by guillotine choke, then goes on to beat Danny Sabatello in the second Bellator Ryzen co-promoted card, and then gets a shot for at the Bellator Championship in Patchy Mix's last Bellator fight, and it's a really close one, but Patchy Mix gets the nod by split decision. Now Magomedov is an underdog against Sarvajan Khamidov, at least on Tapology he is. I don't know the exact odds, I'll check them right now. I don't know, man. Magomedov's minus 125. Wow. Antonio Caruso's minus 110. Oh, boy. Love that. That's crazy. I did not think the odds were going to be that close. Joanne's minus 150. Yeah, whatever. Anyways. Yeah, minus 125 for Magomedov. Sign me up. I actually think Antonio Caruso is a better bet, but it's okay. Yeah, Khamidov's undefeated. Who has Khamidov beat, guys? I'm just going to be honest. You know, he's beat Jose Maria Tomé, a 40-9 guy who's 43 years old in his first Bellator fight. He beats Kevin Pechty, all right, an 18-5 fighter, and he beats Marcelo Alves. Okay. He's supposed to fight Jake Hadley in the first round of the PFL tournament. That was going to be a pretty good fight, right? Because I was really interested to see where Hadley was at against the guy, and really where Khamidov was at as well, against a UFC guy. Now you get Magomedov. I think Magomedov beats him personally. You know, I just think I've seen Magomedov fight, you know, Ralphienstadt, Patchy Mix twice, Danny Sabatello, good fighters, and we've seen him against good grapplers, and he's been fine. Hell, against Sabatello, he's a really good grappler. I know Patchy Mix put him out cold, I get that, but fought a very competitive 5 rounds in the rematch against Patchy Mix. So I think we're really underrating the game, honestly, of Magomedov. I think this is still a very good fighter. And I think he's able to go here. I think he's able to beat Sarvajan Khamidov. I think it's just levels, guys. Yes, Khamidov's undefeated, but again, I will tell you, look at the guys Khamidov has fought. There are really not many guys that I'm overly impressed with. I mean, seriously, who is his best win? Marcelo Alves? When that's your best win, guys, I just honestly I can't back you here. You know, Magomedov, this is a guy who has been in Bellator for a while. He's had 7 fights over there. This is a guy who has beat Piotr Jan in the past. In all fairness, Jan won the second fight, but back in 2016, right? That's Magomedov's kind of claim to fame. They beat Piotr Jan once upon a time for the ACB championship, right? I think he goes out here and beats Sarvajan Khamidov. I think he's got better grappling, right? I mean, that's where this fight's going to be won and lost. Yes, there's going to be moments in the feet, obviously, but I think where Magomedov wins this fight is on the ground. I think he's a better grappler than Khamidov, and I think he goes out there and wins this fight by unanimous decision. So I'm going Magomedov to win a big one. Again, this is a really good fight on the undercard. I'm going Magomedov, though, by decision. Let's go on to our next fight. It is the first playoff fight of the night in the women's flyweight division. We've got Jenna Bishop taking on Katrina Shakalova. I'm going Shakalova. Yeah, I'm taking Shakalova to win this fight by decision. I was impressed by her last fight. She subbed Juliana Velasquez. Wow. I get Juliana Velasquez is washed at this point in time. Velasquez is what, 38? Yeah, 38 years of age. I get it. She's past her prime. Well past her prime. I didn't think Shakalova was going to sub her, though. I was really surprised. That's a good grappler. I know, again, Velasquez is washed, but that jiu-jitsu doesn't really leave you. And Shakalova looked good in that fight. She submits Jenna Bishop in the first round. Sorry, Juliana Velasquez in the first round in 2 minutes. Now she gets Jenna Bishop. Okay, another primary grappler. That's all Jenna Bishop does, right? Gets into the semifinals by beating Kano Watanabe in the first round. This is a fighter who got to fight in the playoffs last season, losing to Tyler Santos. Beating Chelsea Yakin, losing to Tyler Santos, but losing in the first round of the playoffs to Dakota Ditcheva. I think Shakalova's actually able to out-grapple her, guys. I think she is. And on the feet, too, I think Shakalova's a better striker. I think barely. I don't think the striking game's going to be all that fun watching, honestly, but you get 2 primary grapplers. My thing is Shakalova, personally, to me, is just a younger version of Jenna Bishop. Just going to be honest. I think she is. And Shakalova is now fighting at her much more natural weight class. Because, guys, when she was fighting in Bellator, they still had 125. So I don't know why she was fighting at featherweight over in Bellator, but she did. Her first fight in Bellator was a split decision win over Danya Silva at 145. Then she fought Aspen Ladd and lost unanimous decision at 145 there. But then she cuts down to 25, and then she subs the former Bellator champion Velasquez. I just think Jenna Bishop, she's 39 years old. Okay, she looked good against Watanabe, but that's a striker versus the grappler fight. Jenna Bishop got in the playoffs last year and lost to Dakota Ditcheva. We saw Tyler Santos have some success grappling her. I think Shakalova is going to have some success as well. I don't think we get a finish, don't get me wrong. I think the grappling games of both these fighters are going to kind of cancel each other out to the point where we're not going to get a submission. But personally, I do think Shakalova is slightly better. Again, the biggest thing I will look at from this fight is that Shakalova, to me, is just the younger version of Jenna Bishop. They kind of both do the same thing. They kind of both have iffy striking, let's just be honest. But I think on the ground, yeah, I mean, I just saw Shakalova go out there and sub Juliana Velasquez. Can Jenna Bishop submit Juliana Velasquez? Let's be honest, I don't know. Shakalova is 12 years younger, and she's had more pro MMA fights. I get it. Bishop's fought in the LFAs of the world. She's fought in the PFL. She's fought in the Bellators. I get that. But who's honestly Jenna Bishop's best victory? Kana Watanabe? I mean, with that one win that Shakalova just got, I'd argue she already has a better win than Jenna Bishop's gotten in her entire career. I get it. Bishop's going to be looked at as the veteran going into this one. Maybe, you know, PFL is going to pump her up like she's the favorite. She is the favorite. She's minus 200. Wow. Yeah, wow. Shakalova plus 150. Oh, yes, definitely. That's really surprising to me. Yeah, I'm going Shakalova by decision here. I think she's better. She's younger. What, is a 39-year-old Jenna Bishop going to the championship fight? Probably not. I'm going Shakalova by decision. Let's go on now to our next fight. Another tournament fight. I don't know why this one's on the undercard. This is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, how does this not get the nod over Wetzell and Gutierrez for the main card? I don't know. Brent Primus, Alfie Davis. This is a fun one. I don't know if it's fun because I think this is going to go one way pretty easily. Don't get me wrong. I think Alfie Davis's last fight was the best fight of his career. I think it was. You know, just the stakes. I know, again, Alfie Davis was an 8-1-1 Bellator fighter. He kind of got overlooked at times because he could never get that big fight. He had a fight against, you know, Alexander Chavli. He lost. Got booked against J.J. Wilson. Fight never happened. Went on a run. Was supposed to get to Fikun Musayev. I believe Musayev pulled out of that fight. Got to fight Mansour Barnaoui and got subbed, right? I mean, Alfie Davis has always just been kind of right there. My goodness, the spinning back elbow win over Clay Collard was very impressive. Something I didn't see coming. You know, even if you thought Alfie Davis was going to win the fight, I didn't think he was going to win the fight like that. We thought, you know, I don't think he can go out there and outstrike Collard. And sure, maybe Collard is just kind of done now. He's been in a lot of firefights. He's 32 years of age. But, I mean, at his age, he's been in 40 fights. You know, maybe it has caught up to Clay Collard. Plus the boxing experience as well and the boxing fights that he's had. So impressive, though, out of Alfie Davis. So impressive. The thing is, guys, that's not going to matter against Brent Primus. It's just not, you know? If Primus isn't able to take you down and hold you down, then it's trouble, obviously. Look at the Rabadanov fight in the championship fight last year for the PFL, right? Look at that one. But if he's able to get you down, it's trouble, you know? Because that's all he's going to do. Hell, ask Vinicius Cenci, right? We got a guy that had been looked at as a really good grappler in the regional scene. And I get it. We just went over Cenci's entire career and held the Patterson loss and, you know, everything, you know, the flags and, or, you know, the things that we can say, oh, that's weird in his career. I get that. When Brent Primus puts you on your back and puts you on the ground, it's trouble. He beat Clay Collard. I get it, didn't finish Clay Collard, but beat Solomon Renfro last year. Obviously, Rabadanov finished him, and that's great. But you know what Brent Primus is going to do. Hell, look at the Bruno Miranda fight. Miranda, a guy who, you know, not a very good grappler, actually, so it's not a great point I'm going to make there. But I'm just saying, it's a stylistic clash here. Alfie Davis wants to strike. Brent Primus wants to grapple. My thing is, Brent Primus has been in so many fights with strikers before. He's fought some of the best strikers in the world, and he's been fine. You know, hell, again, we're going to talk about Mansour Barnaoui in a second, and the problem I think there is with Mansour Barnaoui at times. But Brent Primus beat Mansour Barnaoui back in 2023. He was the first guy to really beat Barnaoui. That was Barnaoui coming off the main event victory in Italy over Piccolotti. Like, that was a big deal. Primus was a plus 200 dog in that fight. I mean, this is one of the original Bellator guys, or, you know, homegrown Bellator guys. Former Bellator lightweight champion, beat Michael Chandler, albeit due to an injury, and then Chandler proceeded to just win the title back in his next fight. But this is an OG of the Bellator cage. Primus is 40 years of age, and I think he just out-grapples Alfie Davis in this fight, and I think eventually he's going to find the sub. I saw Mansour Barnaoui submit Alfie Davis. And I know, again, MMA math doesn't work like this. Oh, Primus beat Barnaoui, Barnaoui beat Davis. That means Primus has to beat Davis. It doesn't work like that. But at the same time, though, it does make me think, okay, if Barnaoui is able to beat this guy and submit him, Primus should be able to do the same exact thing and just quicker. So I'm going to go with Brent Primus to submit Alfie Davis. I'm going second round submission here for the 40-year-old. I think Primus advances to his second straight PFL championship fight, where he will get the winner of Kevin Lee Rabadanov. We might get a rematch in the finals. Wow. Yeah, give me Brent Primus. Let's move on now to our next one. It is the bantamweight semifinal bout. One of the two, obviously. Marceli Alves takes on Jake Hadley. Jake Hadley gets cut from the UFC, and now he's 2 fights away from being a world champion. Let's just be honest, guys. We all know it. Bantamweight is the weakest weight class in the PFL. I mean, a big factor of that is that potentially, I'm just going to be honest, 2 guys that could have won the entire thing are fighting in an alternate fight right now, today, because, you know, they couldn't get to the original card due to various reasons. Obviously, I'm talking about Magomedov, and I'm talking about Sarijan Khamidov. I think Magomedov is slightly better, don't get me wrong, but Marceli Alves gets Jake Hadley now. Alves beats Leandro Higo. I didn't think he beat Higo. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just didn't think he did. It was the main event of the last PFL number 2 card of the year. Alves is just young. He's 25 years of age. He lost to Khamidov back in Bellator prior to getting the Higo fight. He was originally not supposed to be in the tournament, but obviously when, it was Josh Rettenhouse pulled out, then Alves got to fight Higo. I thought Higo was by far the favorite to win the season. He loses to Alves, and Alves barely got by him. Guys, Jake Hadley's going to beat Marceli Alves, and Jake Hadley's going to the championship fight. He is. He's going to go out there, and he's going to out-grapple Marceli Alves, and I feel fairly good about that. Marceli Alves is a striker. He does not want to grapple. He's been subbed twice in his career. The 2 fights, 2 of the 4 times he's lost, has been by submission, and 3 of them have been, okay, he's gone out there and just gotten out-grappled, you know? He doesn't want to grapple here. You know, this is a guy who I think he got subbed by Luan Lacerda, didn't he? Yeah, Luan Lacerda submitted him. A guy who went 0-2 in the UFC, lost Cody Stamann, lost to Mo Blackshear. That was Lacerda's fight to get in the UFC, was beating Marceli Alves. Yeah, Jake Hadley's gonna out-grapple Alves, and that's the hole in Alves' game. He's a good kickboxer. He's small for the weight class, don't get me wrong. He's 5'4", fighting at 135 pounds. You know, this is a guy who should probably be fighting flyweight, let's just be honest. Has he ever fought flyweight? I don't think he has. No, he did. He used to fight flyweight way back when in Jungle Fight. Yeah, this is a 125-pounder fighting 135 pounds. So Jake Hadley's going to have a size advantage. He's going to have a strength advantage. And, okay, the gap in Marceli Alves' game is the grappling. And what does Jake Hadley excel in at grappling? You know, again, I don't think he's going to pull off the Scottish Twister, the Stevie Ray sub again, like he did against Mateus Mattos. But the advantage is there for Jake Hadley. He's going to go out there, and he's going to grapple up Marceli Alves the entire fight. And he's going to give Marceli Alves no room to breathe. I think it's a fairly easy pick here. I'm going Jake Hadley to advance the PFL Championship fight. He's going to go out there and just out-grapple Marceli Alves. Again, this feels like kind of a lock to me, just the way these 2 guys stylistically match up with each other. Jake Hadley, again, you're playing a little bit of, you're playing minus 140 here. I think this is fairly clear. I'm going to be honest with you. This is as big as a lock as I think you can get. I'm going to be honest with you. I might be getting carried away here, but stylistically, this fight favors Jake Hadley so much. And he should easily win this fight and advance to the championship fight. I'm going Jake Hadley by decision. Let's go to the other bantamweight champion or semifinal fight. Justin Wetzell takes on Mando Gutierrez. Going Justin Wetzell. I'm going Justin Wetzell. The Kasimov victory is impressive. Now, Wetzell missed weight. And I'm old enough to remember that would kick you out of the PFL tournament. But they said, all right, we don't have any other alternates, so just go out there and fight the guy. And Wetzell won as a plus 700 underdog. Mando Gutierrez went out there and submitted Francisco Nunzi in the first round by sub. A fun fight until, again, the ending, 4 minutes in. My thing with Mando Gutierrez, I'm going to keep bringing up, this is a guy who lost to the 17-year-old Raul Rosas. He lost in the Ultimate Fighter to Cody Gibson. He lost to Cameron Smotherman and got flying kneed. And he's coming off victories over a 15-27 guy and a 16-7-1 guy by split decision in deep Tokyo. You know, again, these are MMA fights. Mixed martial arts is one of the toughest sports to predict, obviously, because anything can happen. Everyone's got a puncher's chance and everyone's got a grappler's chance, obviously, right? That's 100% fair. I just think Gutierrez got lucky. I'm just going to be honest with you. And also, I don't know how good Francisco Nunzi is. We went over that at the time. We're like, all right, this is a guy who's had 5 fights in a row canceled. You know, he had a no contest in the last PFL one because of a PFL fight that he had because of an eye poke. Sure, you want to fight against an 11-2 guy by head kick, but there were a lot of question marks surrounding Francisco Nunzi. And let's just be honest, Italian MMA, other than Marvin Vittori, Italy's like Canada. They don't really have many up-and-coming guys. Just going to be honest with you. Justin Wetzell will beat Mando Gutierrez. He will. He's a better all-around fighter, in my opinion. Mando Gutierrez, again, the history concerns me. Justin Wetzell is a guy who's fought in LFA before, beat Bekzod Usmanov in a main event in LFA. That's a Tajikistan fighter fighting at a Jackson Wink. He went there at Wink and beat him by unanimous decision. He went 5 rounds against the guy. It was 3 rounds, excuse me. But Wetzell, I know he missed weight, but guys, beating Khamidov is a really impressive feat. That's a 16-1 fighter, a guy who had won back-to-back fights in Bellator. He had beat Mattos. He had beat Josh Hill in Bellator as well. I get it, Hill's kind of washed now, but that was Josh Hill in 2023. That's a good victory, you know. I'm really impressed with Khamidov as a whole, and that makes me even more impressed, honestly, with Justin Wetzell, that he was able to go out there and pick up that win. So I think Wetzell's going to win. I'm going Wetzell by unanimous decision here. I think Gutierrez kind of just got lucky, I'm going to be honest with you. I think regardless, the winner of this fight will lose to Jake Hadley in the championship fight, but I'm going Justin Wetzell by decision to move on to the PFL title fight. I know, again, Justin Wetzell, Jake Hadley's a world championship fight. That's, you know. But they released Patchy Mix. And I get it, Mix didn't look good against good old Mario Bautista, but I don't know. Just like, you know, you have fighters at 135. If this is the 8 you got, yeah, give me Justin Wetzell. To the future fight of the night, it is the #1 contenders fight in the lightweight division, Mansour Barnaoui taking on Archie Colgan. The winner of this fight is going to fight Usman Nurmagomedov. Again, I don't know what's happened to Paul Hughes. I don't know where Paul Hughes' title fight has gone. You main event a card with him. He beats Bruno Miranda, and yet he's not next in line for the belt. He took Usman to the brink. He took him to the decision. He took him to a close decision. I don't know why this is now the #1 contenders fight. Now, what's going on with Mansour Barnaoui? Because PFL had a card. It was a PFL Europe card, May 24th. It was supposed to be in France. Mansour Barnaoui was the main event against Archie Colgan. They were main eventing a PFL card over there, and they canceled the entire card. We never really got a reason to why. I don't know. There was an investigation going on about Mansour Barnaoui. I guess it was from 2 years ago, but they reopened the investigation about Barnaoui, about domestic violence, about a word that starts with an E, R, and ends with an E. I don't think I can say it on YouTube. I'll get demonetized. These videos aren't even monetized anyway. Anyways, right? That was going on. So I think that's why they canceled the card. I'm gonna be honest with you, because why did they? The ticket sales weren't that bad. You canceled an entire card because of the main event being up in the air, and yet 3 weeks later, here Barnaoui is. So I assume he's been cleared of all of that because he wouldn't be fighting. It's just weird timing, I'm gonna be honest. It's weird timing because that just got canceled 3 weeks ago, and now he's already back. Again, I'm glad it's been cleared up, 100%. It's just like, you know, I guess they had to wait. There's not, honestly, that was just out of the PFL's control. Because say he did get convicted of that, right? And then what? You're just gonna have him fight? You know, it's just, I guess. So I assume he's cleared. Because if he's not cleared, then why the hell did you cancel the card in the first place, okay? So, because if it's still an open investigation. Anyways, I think Barnaoui is losing to Archie Colgan. Guys, I saw Brent Primus beat him. If Brent Primus is able to beat Mansour Barnaoui, Archie Colgan's gonna beat Mansour Barnaoui. I think Colgan's really good. It's just I don't like him fighting Usman Nurmagomedov. I think it's too high of a step up, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a collegiate wrestler at the University of Wyoming, Archie Colgan. A guy who does possess pretty, heavy hands, but he's gonna go out there and grapple you. I'm not gonna lie, this is a step up. I mean, he's going from fighting Thibaut Gauthier and Manuel Sosa and Peter Buste to Mansour Barnaoui, a guy who has, beat Alfie Davis, beat Adam Piccolotti in a main event, fought Brent Primus, fought JJ Wilson. I understand that. I just think Colgan has such an advantage on the ground and with his wrestling. I think Colgan's really good. I just don't like the fact that he's going to be fighting Usman next. I was saying when the whole PFL Bellator thing was happening and they were losing all the Bellator fighters, I originally wanted Colgan to go to the UFC. Because I thought, again, yes, he's not that exciting of a fighter, but I thought that's a really good prospect the UFC can get. He's 28, I believe. He's going to stay in the PFL, that's fine. He's going to out-grapple Barnaoui, trust me. He's going to put the wrestling boots on. He will out-wrestle Barnaoui for 15 minutes. It's not even a 5-round fight. I wanted this to be 5 because I thought it would be a lot more interesting. It's only 15 now. I'm going to say that actually favors Colgan a lot because we haven't seen Colgan go 25 yet, and that's where I'm going to really worry about him against Usman. And just in general, Usman's a great fighter. But in a 15-minute fight, yeah, he can be all go for 10 minutes, take the 3rd round off, and win the fight. Does that warrant you a title fight? I don't think so. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't get it. I get it originally because if that fight was a main event, okay, there's a reason to get people watching the card. Okay, the winner of this fight's gonna fight Usman or Magomedov. But now it's a feature fight on a PFL card in Wichita, Kansas. I'm going Archie Colgan by decision. I think there's a very big advantage he has in the wrestling here, and he's going to go to that. And Colgan, again, a 15-minute fight favors him so much. I'm going Archie Colgan. Next up, women's flyweight division. Liz Carmouche takes on Elora Dana. Liz Carmouche is gonna win. I don't have it down in my mind. Who is Elora Dana's best victory? Diana Agasavaragona. Come on now, guys. I mean, Liz Carmouche last year lost to Tyler Santos in the playoffs. That sucks. She TKO'd Joanne in 85 seconds. Liz Carmouche's only loss since 2020 is Tyler Santos by decision. She's not losing to Elora Dana, guys. She's 26. I get it. Carmouche is 15 years older than her. Yes, Liz is 41 years old now. But Carmouche will do enough, trust me. I think there is a very big advantage she has on the feet. I even think Carmouche can grapple with Dana. I'd be a little concerned, the way that we saw the Watanabe fight. Well, I mean, that was Carmouche getting the submission at the end. But Watanabe actually did control her a little bit in that fight. I think Carmouche is better everywhere, I'm going to be honest with you. It's just the experience is there. Carmouche is just a better fighter. Again, Elora Dana was the Jungle Fight champion. She goes in. She beats Diana Azagavoda. Okay, Diana was 6-1. She had barely beat Alejandra Lara. She lost to Justine Kish. And then she gets the fight in the PFL tournament. How did she deserve to be there? Again, good on Dana. There's nothing she could do. She went out there and she subbed Diana in the first round. She got neck crank, finished the fight fairly early. Good on her. Again, there's nothing you can do about that. But it's just like, Liz Carmouche, there's levels to this game, guys. There are easy levels to this game. And Liz Carmouche is on a different level than Elora Dana. She just is. I think, again, the easiest way for Liz Carmouche to win this fight is through the striking. I think that's what she's going to do. I'm not saying she's going to get a finish, but there is a clear... there's a clear experience advantage for Liz Carmouche, and there's just a skill advantage as well for Carmouche too. So I think she's going to beat Elora Dana. I think she goes out there and wins a unanimous decision. I just think Carmouche is so much better everywhere. Again, her only loss in the last 6 years is through Tyler Santos by decision. Yeah, this is fairly easy for me. Liz Carmouche by decision. Let's go on now to our main event. Kevin Lee makes his PFL debut as he's taken on Gadzi Rabadanov. I get it, the PFL didn't have any backup fights for lightweights. They say, all right, Motown Phenom, JJ Wilson out, broken jaw, welcome in Kevin Lee. I'm excited. Guys, we just got to be honest with ourselves here, though. What's likely going to happen? This is the worst fight they could give Kevin Lee. It was almost to the point where I kind of rather them just do, all right, give Kevin Lee but Alfie Davis and hope he can get through it. And then just do Primus Rabadanov now, because that's the fight we're likely going to get anyway in the championship fight. So try to give us a different fight in the finals. But they didn't rework the bracket, obviously. They just have Kevin Lee immediately just, insert his way and, just take out JJ Wilson. And this is so tough for him, man. It reminds me, it's not the same stylistic fight at all. But you know what it reminds me of, guys? It reminds me of when he fought Hernat Fakhretdinov. He made his return to the UFC after he beat Diego Sanchez at 165 pounds. And we're going to get into the weight thing in a second. But, he beats Diego Sanchez, and then he goes to the UFC, fights Hernat Fakhretdinov, and gets slept in 55 seconds. Kevin Lee has fought. He fought in Lights Out Championship over Thiago Oliveira. Cool. He beat him by sub in the first round. Again, that's what Kevin Lee should do to a guy who's a no-name. How's Kevin Lee going to make 155 pounds? I'm so serious. How is he going to make 155? Guys, there's a reason he wanted... Kevin Lee was one of the biggest advocates for 165 pounds. There is a reason Eagle FC... I'm old enough to remember when Eagle FC was trying to promote that they had a 165-pound weight class, but they went under, obviously, and they decided, okay, we're actually just going to do one fight with Diego Sanchez and Kevin Lee at 165 pounds. And by the way, Kevin Lee couldn't even finish Diego Sanchez. So they just made it a catchweight bout at 165. But that was Kevin Lee's whole thing. He's like, all right, I'm not big enough to fight 170, and I'm too big to fight 155. That's what happened in the Charles Oliveira fight. He missed weight by 3.5 pounds. So UFC forced him to go up to fight D-Rod at 170. And then they brought him back to fight Fakhretdinov. He lost and got subbed in 55 seconds, something that Hernat doesn't do. He's just kind of a decision machine. He's not going to finish you. Ugh. And that was when Fakrtina was going on his run. I think the fight before that, he had beat Brian Battle. But still, it's like, that's not good. And then Kevin Lee's last fight in the regional scene was at 170. How is he on short notice going to make 155 pounds? And even if he does, he's going to be cooked. He's going to have to cut all that weight, going to get down to 155, and then fight the best fighter PFL has at the weight class in Gutierrez Rabadanov. My goodness. I will give Kevin Lee this. He only takes tough fights. Because why are you taking this fight? Against a guy who has got amazing sambo. And on top of that, he's developing an amazing striking game as well. As you have seen in his last 3 fights, he knocks out in the playoffs last year. He knocks out Michael Dufault. He finishes Brent Primus to win the championship in the 3rd round. And then he knocks out Mark DeCasey in 32 seconds in the 1st round of this tournament. Oh boy. And what, Kevin Lee's going to grapple this guy? Yeah. Master in combat sambo. I don't think he actually is. I think that's an actual title. But amazing sambo guy. He's a Russian fighter. That's what they train all the time, you know? This is a nightmare matchup for Kevin Lee. It just is. I'm going Rabadanov 1st round knockout. I just am. I don't like Kevin Lee going down to 155 pounds. Is he even going to make the weight? I don't know. But if he does, he's going to be cutting so much weight. Chin's going to be depleted. Body's just going to be depleted. He's not going to be able to take punches against Rabadanov. Rabadanov will be able to grapple him if needed. But I think the easiest pathway to victory is going to be Rabadanov 1st round knockout. This guy is so developed. He's going to win the championship again this season because likely, again, it will be him and Brent Primus in a rematch. I wonder who's going to win again. It's going to be Rabadanov. And guys, Godzi's what, 32? 31? He's going to be running this weight class for a while. 5-0 in Bellator, 6-0 in PFL. This is a legit he's not prospect. This is a legit fighter. He's a world championship fighter. If you went to the UFC, I don't know, he's a top 10 guy, but like, this is a good fighter, man. This is a really good fighter. It's to the point where I want to see Rabadanov fight Usman Magomedov. I want to see Rabadanov fight Paul Hughes. You know, the Bellator guys, I guess. You can call them Bellator guys, right? The guys who aren't fighting in the tournament. I hope it's a fight that the PFL makes eventually. Rabadanov against whoever gets out of that, I guess, 3-way race between... Archie Colgan's not going to win the title, but it's going to be either Usman or Paul Hughes. Likely Usman, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think Usman and Magomedov Gutierrez Rabadanov is one of the biggest fights PFL can make. Hell, take that fight to Russia. That's a big fight. You know, they won't go to Russia because no one goes to Russia anymore. But I think Rabadanov wins the fight. I think he wins it by 1st round knockout. Again, he's knocked out Mark DeCasey in 32 seconds. I get it. Kevin Lee's probably better than Mark DeCasey. Maybe. I don't know. Who's better in 2025, Mark DeCasey or Kevin Lee? You know? Kevin Lee, again, former UFC fighter, fought Tony Ferguson for the interim championship. He's kind of past his prime at 32. Let's just be honest. He's not going to be able to eat a punch from Rabadanov. Cutting all that weight, Rabadanov is just better. And unfortunately, I think this is just gonna be another damn moment for Kevin Lee. We've seen this. The big returns for D-Rod, Fakrtinov, big returns for Kevin Lee have just been spoiled immediately. I think there is a place for Kevin Lee in the PFL. I think this is a one-fight deal, I'm going to be honest with you. But there are places for Kevin Lee to fight in the PFL. I don't know if he beat Alfie Davis, but I think it would be a competitive fight, you know? Immediately getting inserted against the best guy the PFL's got just will not go his way. There's a reason, by the way, Gutierrez Rabadanov is a -1600 favorite. There's a reason for that, guys. There's a reason for that. Gutierrez Rabadanov 1st round knockout. The fight's TKO. The fight's not even close. It's not going to be competitive. I don't know if Kevin Lee goes 2 minutes. I'm just going to be honest with you. I hate to be that harsh, but there's a reason. Again, Gutierrez the biggest favorite on the card. JJ Wilson would have been a more fun. It would have been a fun fight. I think Rabadanov obviously still would have won. But yeah, Gutierrez winning the fight, and he's going to three-peat next year as well in the PFL. Gutierrez Rabadanov finishes Kevin Lee by 1st round TKO. So folks, thank y'all for watching our PFL predictions here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week for more PFL action. Folks, thank you for watching, and Mamba forever.